Hey Covalence friends, this is actually not hyperbole. Reddit actually has banned a couple of my accounts over the past couple of days. Now, why would they do that? Well, they probably suspected them of exhibiting bot-like behavior, and probably for good reason because they were bot accounts, but legitimate ones I was doing to enhance the functionality of Reddit, as requested by some moderators. So, what exactly was I doing? Well, Reddit's short linking functionality kind of sucks. They're new like /s/, and it really only works well on their official mobile app. So if you're using a side-loaded third-party application still in 2024 and want to retain that good mobile app, you probably have run into some issues where a share does not redirect properly with their new link style. So if you use their short link, the only way to see where it actually resolves to is by actually clicking on the link and going there, which is not really great. It's kind of annoying. And so I was writing a little bot for the best of subreddit moderators, and I might have to figure something else out because I think I need to attach this bot to a long-standing account in order for it to not get flagged and removed within a minute or two. But let's go ahead and look at exactly what's happening here. So since we can't know ahead of time what that link will resolve to, we have to have this bot in some kind of way actually click on the link, wait for that to resolve, and then scrape the newest URL. And so how can we have a bot click on something? Well, you can use any browser automation tool, but in this project, I actually used Selenium because I'm a big fan of theirs, pretty easy to use, and got great widespread adoption over, many years. So big fan of them. And so it will click on the link, just wait for the browser to open up, and once that link resolves, it'll grab the newest one out of the URL bar and then fix it and provide an old Reddit link and a new Reddit link in case, you want to actually view old Reddit, which, is my long-standing preference since I've been on the site for like 15 years now. And new Reddit's kind of just ugly in my opinion. So if you feel some kind of way about that, go fight me in the comments. You can enjoy your new Reddit. I will enjoy my crisp, clean, compact comment styling syntax or layout. So since this is really a channel for developers, if you want to tinker around with it, you'll git clone it, run npm install to get all the dependencies. And the biggest thing is getting your environment variables set up. Also, a lot of this code might not be the greatest organized right now. I will be providing a link to this repo in the description so you can tinker around with it yourself. If you look at my Git log though, all of the commits up until like now were between like midnight and when I woke up. So it's one of those commits from last night situations where it's late night sleepy code. That's not really the greatest quality probably, but we'll be looking back over that. And I'm actually going to be recreating a new account and developing on that, and we'll see the bot live. So hopefully everything works. So now that that's out the way, I did just create a brand new Reddit account, Andrew Covalence, and since I'm doing this for a YouTube video, I will actually go ahead and show the process of getting your bot set up. And, this account's going to be long since deleted by the time y'all actually do view the video, so I will show my credentials here. But you have a couple things to go ahead and preemptively fill out. You actually have to provide your account username and password. And then you also have to provide a user agent, and you'll provide your username for that. You then have to go ahead and requisition these bits of client info, your ID and your secret for your bot. And you do that under your account preferences. So here on Reddit, and I'm not using Reddit Enhancement Suite here. So I've got Reddit on dark mode, which is kind of burning my eyes, but we'll try to get through this pretty quickly. So you'll go to your account preferences. You'll go to apps. Are you a developer? Create an app. The name here, that's what would become your user agent. You can just set it up as your account name. You'll change this from web app to script. You can leave the description and about URL blank. Those are supposed to say optional in parentheses. I don't know why they're not showing that on Chrome when they were showing that on Firefox. You do have to have the redirect URI. And since this is a script, we really don't need it. So you can actually just slap out localhost 3000 on there. And that will suffice. And you're attesting that you personally are not a robot. You're not a bot creating other bots. You're a human creating other bots, unless you're like a neural network or like, I don't want to say LLM because it's like video. Well, I guess, yeah. You're not an LLM ingesting this video and training it on YouTube videos to create automated YouTube videos, which is kind of how things are happening now. But off of my little kind of side thing, your client ID is what I have highlighted here. So underneath personal use script is our client ID. We will go ahead and copy that, paste that here. And then our client secret is what we have provided here. We will also copy that and paste that. And that's all we need to do on the Reddit side of things. So I'm going to come back over here. I'm actually going to go to the testing ground for bots subreddit. So our testing ground for bots. And I'll make some posts with like some trigger phrases in there that it will watch for. So we also need to provide the path to your Firefox binary. So if you're a Mac OS user or Windows user, I've got instructions in the README for like where the likely locations for those are. Let's see. There we go. And if you're a Linux user, you know how to use the where or which command to find, your application's binary. I thought I had Firefox installed with, apt, but it looks like I actually had mine installed with snap. So mine is this super long path instead of the standard like user bin Firefox. But you'll go ahead and provide that. Your node environment here, we're setting up as development. Anything that's not production sets production to false, that we use to kind of toggle between a couple states. Subreddit here, I'm specifically saying testing ground for bots. And the trigger text is what is up YouTube. So we'll go ahead and save this now, and we'll look at the rest of the code. So in our source directory, let's jump to the index. We are using Snowstorm and SnowWrap as our two libraries. For Node, if you've ever used Python and you like Python, the praw library, the Python wrapper, the Python Reddit API wrapper, I think is what it's short for, is pretty solid. It's very well established. It's been used for forever, but I've used that in the past before. SnowWrap and Snowstorm for, Node, more than sufficient. So the configuration, Snowstorm and SnowWrap need an object with the username, password, user agent, client ID, and client secret properties respectively. So we go ahead and reconfigure everything. I've got this deployment config object, which has the production, subreddit, and trigger phrase here respectively. And then for Selenium, I've got this binaries object, in the event you wanted to add more Selenium specific settings, or in the event you wanted to add additional binaries in case you wanted to try out like Chrome or whatever, we've got that there. And I slapped in a little function here that loops over the objects and makes sure that I don't have any undefined elements. But that's where we get config.reddit from, which goes ahead and instantiates a new Reddit object. We then go ahead and create a comment stream. So this is going to ingest comments live, passing in our Reddit client so it can actually authenticate. And then we have to say like which subreddit and the amount of comments it will ingest at one time, which I set to 100. I think the default might be like 20 or 25, but it doesn't really matter all that much unless you're like running out of RAM and need to, scale back. And then just kind of lazily slapped on, because yet again, like 1 a.m. code commits, I just kind of lazily slapped on a console log for error handling. You probably wouldn't want to use like your own logging service to notify you in the event that something fails. And then finally, upon a comment being found, it is their item handler. We go ahead and pass in our comment handler as our argument. And this is where all of the fun happens. So in our comment handler, resizing everything, we've got a few constants that we pull in. So the subreddit to choose, we check to see if it's production first. And if we are in production, we'll use the subreddit that we defined in our configuration. But if that's missing for any reason, we fall back to using best of, which is the subreddit I was initially doing the development for. And in the event that we are not in production, we fall back to using testing ground for bots, which is probably one that you would want to use to test your stuff out anyway. So, yet again, I'm posting this code to be... Sorry, my cats are being really loud. Pausing for a moment. All right, I'm back. So, you probably would want to be using testing ground for bots to test anyway, but, you know, I am making this repo public. If you want to, you know, clone it and change it, or, you know, make a fork and make this more dependent on environment variables for the subreddit, or just want to hard code it, you know, at that point it's your code, your repo, do whatever you want with it. I think I licensed it under like GPL v3. I could make it like a less copyleft, like less restrictive one. I don't remember which is like more permissive, that or MIT, but whatever. Do whatever you want with this. The trigger text checks to see if there is a trigger set in the configuration variables, and if it's not, it falls back to the one that I'm looking for from automoderator in the best of subreddit. So automod says like, hey, by the way, you posted this with a /s, you know, Reddit short link, which screws up with everybody's browsing experience unless they're using the terrible official Reddit client. But we've defined those constants just to make our life a little easier, so we don't have to do a lot of comparisons and, you know, rewrite this code over and over here. So the way that my bot was working is I didn't have it responding to itself, because if initially I did have my bot rephrasing what automod said and replying directly to automod. So automod had like a paragraph with like a bunch of rules in it, including this string. I reposted this string underneath a reply to automod saying like, your submission contains blah, blah, blah. Here are the fixed links. And because of that, because of the comment stream, I ended up having like a recursive tree of comments to myself and like had a few dozen posts in the span of like a second. And I think that's kind of what tipped Reddit off to like, oh shit, this is, you know, some bot-like behavior. And that's probably why the first bot got banned. And because I created more bots under my same IP address immediately after that first ban, that's probably where everything started kind of falling into place. But I did want to make sure that I didn't have an issue with a recursive tree anymore. So we read some code later that ensures that I don't auto reply to myself. And so that is derived from, you know, your Reddit username property, which, you know, we needed in order to authenticate, but we just get to reuse that variable here. So as the comment comes in with SNUWrap, we can derive a lot of cool properties about it, but we can get the author of the comments and grab their username. And then we also set a constant for, you know, my username. So we check to see if the commenter is automoderator, or if it's not automoderator, we see if we're in development mode and it's myself. So that way I can test, you know, putting comments here which like mimic what automoderator was saying in development. So you might want to do something like this and preserve that as is. In addition to that, I want to ensure, you know, this is completely stateless. I am not storing anything in any database. It is purely just running on the fly. So how do we evaluate if I've already replied if I can't store like comments IDs? Well, we just check to see if that comment coming in has, we see if it has any replies from myself. And if we do, we go ahead and return early to stop everything. So we've done a few things here to ensure that the bot doesn't run more than it needs to in my specific instance. You can tweak this perfectly to your liking. Now, after this, we go ahead and we take the comment body itself and see if it includes the text we're looking for. If it doesn't, don't do anything, because we don't want this bot replying to every single comment that happens on that subreddit, which would be frankly terrible. But after that, we go ahead and we check to see if the link itself in the post is actually a self-text link, and we can determine that by seeing if it just refers to the current subreddit that we're supposed to be posting in. So in theory, you could have a post in a subreddit cross-posting another post from the same subreddit, in which case you would need to look a little more at the comment properties. Speaking of which, very unfortunate, but I've had to use tsignore a couple times here. Their TypeScript documentation is pretty bad, actually, with SNUWrap, unfortunately. There are a ton of unrecognized properties, which very much do exist on the app, and there are a ton of properties they say do exist that just don't anymore. So they've done a ton of code updates, they just haven't been maintaining their TS docs, too terribly well. So maybe at a later point, once I use SNUWrap a little bit more, I might actually make some pull requests. Or if you feel inspired to, please go ahead and, we're all here to make the open source community a little better, a little stronger. But once we've extracted that out and we've determined as to whether or not it's likely a self-text post or it's an external link, we go ahead and grab one of our utility functions, extract link. And so we've got extract link and get fixed URLs here. That's a couple utility functions we've got that just do some regular expressions to parse out and see, hey, can I find something that looks like a link in that entire, body of text? And if we find one, we either return that, otherwise we short circuit to returning an empty string. And then here, for isNewShareStyle, I really just want to see, I'm not trying to extract the link itself. I just want to say yes or no, does this have the signature of the new share link style? So we're just looking for that /s/ in the URL. And so what we do is just negate the results twice. So if it's an array of matches, that means that the regular expression did find a match. So not that match would be false, and not that match would be true. So isNewShareStyle would be true if we found anything. If we don't find anything, well, the match function returns null. And so not null, single negating it, would be true, and double negating null would be, well, false. So instead of like a truthy or falsy value, this function is named isNewShareStyle. So I want it to return a Boolean. So we just double negate the results there. So in the event we have determined that the post is a self-text, and there's another tsignore here just because it doesn't understand the fetch function. Yeah, so if the post is a self-text post, what this is doing, I'm scraping a comment itself. And so what this is doing for us, just picking one of these at random, if my trigger phrase was, "What is up, my dude?" my bot's like, hey, we found the trigger phrase. Let's go ahead and analyze this. Well, we grab the link. We determine that based on the URL structure, it's a self-text post. And so, and the way that this bot was working, yet again, is somebody either directly shared a Reddit shortened, /s/style short link, or they make a text post and they put it in the comment or in the text body. And so this is where it's looking for that, short link. So we've determined here that there's a short link found and that it's a self-text post. So what we use is the get submission function. We provide the link ID to it, and this fetches that submission itself. So we're not just looking at comments anymore, but we're instead finding the submission. And then we go ahead and extract out the submission link itself. So it's not just the link that was shared, which would have been the post itself, but since we've determined it's self-text, we grab the one out of the URL, or not the URL bar, the self-text body itself. And then after that, we go ahead and see that maybe the bot triggered, or another bot or another comment triggered this incorrectly. We still want to validate that no matter what, we're only replying in the event that the URL we have finally extracted is of the new share style. If it's not, just don't comment. There's no need to provide corrected links if there are no links to correct. And so finally, we have 2 lines of code here that will finally bring us to Selenium. So we provide our crappy extracted Reddit short link here to the getFixedURLs function, and that returns a comment string of some kind, which our bot will go ahead and reply with. So what exactly is happening with that getFixedURLs? Well, basically all of our Selenium code. So what we do is we initialize our driver, and the reason why we're declaring it but not initializing it, excuse me. So the reason why we declare it here is just so we have scope of it outside of our try block, and that way in our finally block, in the event we either successfully finish with everything in the try block, or if we hit the catch block with an error, we still have scope of the driver, and so we can go ahead and quit it in the event that it is defined. You know, there is a chance that an error could be thrown without the driver being defined. So like in the event that a URL was not passed to this function, this throws an error. So driver would not have been defined by that point. So we still have to do that. But anyway, we set up Firefox. I'm actually going to disable the headless argument here, and that way we can actually see this doing its thing in process. But we go ahead and build up our Firefox browser, launch it with the crappier URL, and that's basically it. We really just need like these 2 lines of code. We launch it, it goes to the crappy URL, which redirects to the, actual external, like fully resolved Reddit link. And then after we do that, well, it just goes ahead and gets the resolved URL, which we store here as a variable. And then we replace the subdomains with old.reddit.com and new.reddit.com. And then here we see, I've corrected the sReddit short link back to the standard link format. And then we add some new lines showing the old Reddit and new Reddit syntax. And so that's pretty much it for this. So let's go ahead and get this up and running. I want to make my bot actually work. So let me use Reddit's crappy share style. I actually don't know how to... So I'm on old. Do I have to go to new Reddit in order to get this to work? Don't worry, it's just temporary. All right, and we'll have to look back at our env to get like the syntax absolutely correct, but let's go ahead and make a post. Oh, new Reddit is terrible looking. Okay, well, let me pause, or actually, let me go to best of. Here we go. So let me post a link here. I'll paste this short link. Terrible short link format. And we'll hit post. And I'm going to pretend to be AutoMod here saying like, hey, your comment sucks. Or your post sucks with its terrible short link format. So we'll come over here. I'll say, what is up, YouTube? And I actually need to go ahead and get the bot running. So let's come over here first. npm run dev. And so we've got the bot running. All right, what is up, YouTube? I'm demoing this cool bot functionality. And I do have my node environment set to development, which is precisely what allows me to reply to myself. So I'm kind of like spoofing myself as AutoMod, but right now it's really trained to only reply to auto-moderator. That way it's not really abusable. So people can't just like randomly comment and get this, you know, spamming through a bunch of replies. So we hit, you know, what's up, YouTube? I'm demoing this cool bot functionality. We have one new comment come in already. So I might have actually gotten spam filtered already. No way. Okay, no, not yet. The one new comment was for the one I actually wrote. So we just saw with Selenium there, did not do the headless option. So I had it actually popping up live just so we could see it. But it did scrape those URLs, and if I refresh, it should have replied. And then here we see it. I have corrected the /Reddit, blah, blah, blah. Here are the fixed links compatible with desktop and mobile Reddit. So we click on new.reddit, great. Old.reddit, chef's kiss, looks so good. And that's pretty much it. So maybe it's not the greatest like open template for a bot for Reddit, but it exactly fit mine and the best of moderators use case, with the caveat of getting banned very quickly, as I'm sure this account will be potentially, you know, by the time I finish recording this video. So I'll have to log into another account and see if it's shadow banned and if I can see its comments or not. But it fit my use case. And that's kind of the nice part about this repo is you can fork it and do whatever you want with it. You don't have to even like propose changes to this if you're like, it could be improved. Just do what fits your use case. Have fun with it. And as always, you know, stay great, Covalence friends. I'll catch you later.